Okay, so now we continue. This is now the generate rod function. So this function is going to work based on about 4 main principles. So the first principle is when generating the rod, the first position here always has to be a rod. We can't generate an empty space. Okay, it has to start with the player on the rod, then the next positions that come, those ones we can determine whether we want it to be an empty space or not, right? Then the second thing that we have to keep in consideration is the cube itself together with the player. The player can jump once or twice depending on whether they click left or right on the mouse. So if the player rather the maximum number of jumps that the player can make is 2 jumps. So we can't go more than 2 jumps of empty space, okay? Because it means that the player can't jump such a large distance, such a large space. So meaning when we have 2 empty spaces, we need to create a platform, a stone, for the player to jump on. Okay, so that's the second principle. Okay, then the third principle is for us to be able to achieve those first 2 concepts, we'll create an array, okay, in addition to what we have here, one that will quickly be able to go through all of those 50 spots and then be able to determine and make sure that they are enough for the player to actually move. Okay, then when we do that, then we can create the rod itself. So we'll begin. Okay, so first of all, we have this node remove all children. Okay, so there are comments in the code, so this will prevent the track from being from using the old track, right? It should generate a new rod. Okay, so prevent using old track when we start the game. Okay, so it removes all of the stones. Then we'll say this dot underscore rod. Okay, this will also be emptied. Okay, so this will be emptied. Then when starting the first position, okay, we'll make sure that this dot rod dot push. So pushing adds something to an array. Okay, so this is an array. Okay, and so we add something to it. So this rod here is an array, so it's empty. So the first position that we add, we'll add a block of type stone. So add block type dot bt stone. So the first position always has to be a solid platform so that the player can stand on something rather than the game begins and the player is already falling. Okay, so first position has to be a stone. Okay, then what happens with the following position? So the second, the third, the fourth, all the way up to 50. So for those, we have to determine that on a case-by-case basis. So for this, we'll use a for loop. Okay, so we use a for loop. So let I be equal to 1. I hope everybody has done a TypeScript tutorial before doing this. Okay, rod length I plus plus. Okay, let I equals 1. Okay, so let I equals 1. Normally in for loops we start at 0, but you know the first position has already been taken. We already have a stone, so we start on the second position on 1. Okay, so what we're doing is we're looping through the whole rod length. We're saying 1 is less than 50, right? The rod length here was defined as 50, so 1 is less than 50. So meaning we're going to iterate 49 times, right? Iterate 49 times so that we put the other 49 positions, whether there will be stones or empty spaces. Okay, so we'll go ahead, put another if statement. Okay, so we'll say if this dot the rod array I minus 1 is equal to, so that's a strict check, block type, sorry about that, block type bt none. Okay, so what's this logic checking? So we're checking, so I minus 1 is what is the previous position. Okay, I, remember, in this case is 1 because I is equal to 1, okay, when starting. So I minus 1 is 1 minus 1, which is 0. So meaning the first position, if the first position is nothing, is none, then what should we instantiate? It means this is an empty space. Okay, so if the previous position is an empty space, so if the previous position is an empty space, then what we shall put is, as you can imagine, we're going to be putting a stone, block type bt stone. So if the previous position is an empty space, okay, then this position has to be a stone, right? A cube, what the player will step on. Otherwise, okay, if the previous position was a stone, then we'll randomize it. Okay, for the stone we can randomize it. This dot rod dot push, okay, math dot flow. So math dot flow allows us to round down so that we get a whole number. Then math dot random randomizes a number between 0 and 1, but if we do by 2, then it means we'll be randomizing between 1, in fact between 0 and 1. Okay, so what does this mean? Okay, randomize between 0 and 1. So this means that here, remember, bt none is equivalent to 0, bt stone is equivalent to 1. So here, when we push block bt stone, what we're pushing inside the rod array is the value 1, because stone is equal to 1. Okay, so here we're saying 1 represents a stone, 0 represents an empty space. So now what we're saying here is, if the previous position was a stone, okay, if it was a stone, this is in the else statement. If the previous position was a stone, then we can either have an empty space, 0, or we can have another stone, a 1. Okay, so this is what this line here is doing, simply put. Okay, then let's go ahead so that we can finish this function quickly. Then the next tutorial we will then write the spawning code. Okay, so generating tracks. okay, based on the runway. So we've, at this point here, we would have created the road array, which would have the values of either 0 or 1, 0 or 1, 0 or 1, all the way up to number 50 for the 50 spaces. So once we have those, okay, we can then be able to write a loop that would try to create or spawn the cube, to spawn the cube. So we'll say let j be equal to 0, j is less than this dot road length. However, I spelled this road dot length, okay, j plus plus. Okay, so the syntax seems correct. Okay, yeah, so road with underscore. Okay, so here it's pretty much the loop is using the same logic as this for loop here. Want to go through all of the positions, okay. So then, okay, so we'll begin here. Let block type node be equal to this dot spawn. We've not yet created this, the spawn block type. Spawn block by type. We've not yet created this function, so it will underline in red for now. This dot underscore road. Okay, then we get the current item. So what's happening here? So we'll say, so the block is going to either, of course, be a space, or it's going to be the actual road, right? So what we'll be doing is we'll be calling the function spawn block by type, and then through it we'll be passing whatever value, either a 0 or a 1, for each position from 0 all the way up to 50. From 0 all the way up to 50. Okay, remember, from 1 up to 50, each position has a 0 or a 1. So the first position, for example, has a 1. Second position might have a 0. The third position might have another one, just like that. And then that will inform us whether to use an empty space, nothing, or a stone. So this is what we want this to do. Then we can say if, okay, sorry, I've got JavaScript habits, so I prefer the cursor, the curly bracket there. Okay, so here we'll say if block, if the block is true, okay, if block exists, if it's not now, okay, then this dot node dot add child. Okay, then we'll add the block. Okay, so this dot node dot add child, this brings in a child element, in this case the block. It adds it to the node, brings it into the scene. Then the block can have properties, so we can set its position. So the position is going to be in terms of the x-axis, the y-axis, and the z-index. So we're mostly interested in increasing the x-axis. Okay, the x-axis. So the x-axis, meaning that we want the blocks to be spawning in this direction, going towards the right side. Okay, that's the direction we want the blocks to be spawning. Okay, so we use j, okay, because j will be increasing because of the value of the for loop. Okay, j plus plus means plus 1. So this, every time this iterates, it will be adding plus 1. So this will be 1, then 2, then 3, then 4, then 5, then 6, and so the position of the blocks would be 1, 2, 3, 4 going all the way to our right. Okay, but for the y-axis, really we don't really need it to be changing, so we'll leave it at a constant of -1.5. Okay, we'll of course straighten this out based on the sizes that we have here. So like for me here, if I see my y-axis, it's on -1.6. so later on I'll correct things so that they look a little bit neater, but right now I'll leave it at -1.5. then the z index at 0, so it should be exactly the way we're seeing it. It shouldn't come forward, shouldn't go backwards. Okay, so that's what we mean here. So now in the last tutorial for this, we can then create the spawn by block function. So this one isn't yet created, so I'll just create this now. Spawn block by type. Okay, so this is our function. So I'll write this function in the next tutorial. Thank you for watching. Like, comment. Thank you for the support.